Hi there, YouTube. Welcome to Stratosphere Lounge. I don't know if you can see me okay. When we started the stream, everything looked good on this end. I checked it on YouTube and it looks like it's streaming. But my screen is abnormally black. If you guys can see me okay, and like I said, I just did check it. Let me double check it. Yeah, there I am. So it looks like it's okay. Just going to have to deal with this stream thing being blocked. Let's grab our friends over at Twitch here. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Stratosphere Lounge. I'm your host, Bill Whittle, and it is the 9th of January, 2025. Slow news week here in Los Angeles. It, it's it's been pretty wild here. Just for those of you who been keeping up on the story of the fires in Los Angeles, about, I don't know, maybe an hour, maybe 90 minutes just before the show started, got an alarm on my phone that said prepare to evacuate the area. And I thought, that can't be right. I mean, it doesn't say what area. And then Natasha called. She got it. Shelly got it. I said, no, it's got to be a false alarm. And then something like 25 minutes went by, and then another one went. Meh, 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 meh. Every phone in LA, all of LA, went off saying, "Oh, never mind. That was for somebody else." So that's gonna keep things calm here, you know, I've been through these. I've been here for 37 years. It's quite a while. And it's just, on one hand it's not anything new. On the other hand, it's the worst. It's the worst fire damage that we've had in the city's history. I'm sure that's in terms of dollars. I don't know if it's in terms of area, but it might be in terms of area as well. A couple years ago, some other neighborhood burned to the ground. I don't remember the name of the neighborhood because it wasn't as trendy as Pacific Palisades. But that's a problem we have out here pretty much all the time. And it's just, it's so infuriating. I suppose a bunch of you have seen, it's all because of the dam smelt. That's right, the Delta smelt, or whatever, the fish that's blocking off our water supply. I'm going to do something on this. I don't know what exactly, but obviously you got to talk about the fires in some way. And I showed you guys video that Natasha and I took last year, I guess it was last year, of just this incredible rush of water, just these torrents of water going past our house down the LA River into the ocean. And I said, all we have to do is build just gigantic concrete boxes and catch this stuff, and it's just I had not realized that Californians had voted on a referendum. They voted to tax themselves to build more reservoirs, and they took the money, but nothing's built. No new reservoirs. The ones that we have weren't refilled. The mayor of Los Angeles was busy doing her civic duty by making a visit to Ghana. Apparently there's a new king or something in Ghana, so she had to attend that. I kind of thought that would be a job for the State Department. Victor Davis Hanson has talked about that a lot, how California mayors and governors somehow think that it's their job to conduct, State Department policies by visiting places. It's one thing for a mayor of Los Angeles to go someplace to solicit investment for the city, but honestly, it's just talking with Natasha about this, talking with Shelley about this. It's like, what? Thank you very much for that, by the way, P7. That's very kind of you. We're fine. It's just, what's it going to take to get Californians to change their mind? I don't think this will do it. I've really come to realize that these people would rather watch their house burn down with everything that they care about, including their pets in them, than vote Republican. That's what I've come to believe. It's a mental illness, because I don't know what else to say. Eric says maybe James Wood should run for mayor of LA or California governor. He's been great. I texted him the morning of so it all started late on, I can't keep track of the days anymore. I want to say it started on Tuesday. Then I texted him yesterday morning. Lapco92 says, hey, Bill, wanted help, but I'm on a budget. I think I can send you a super soaker. That's all I can swing at the moment. Not much, but you can put out a cat. Well, we'll take it. So James Woods was unbelievable on Laura Ingraham. I mean, he was just so passionate and so, I don't know. I don't know. There's a couple things that I'm certainly sure of. And that, first of all, one of them is that a lot of this is arson. There are fires that are starting that are 25 miles away from, where the Palisades fire started. We don't know what started the Palisades fire. All we know is that in the day or two before the fire started, we all got notifications on our cell phones saying, danger, danger, danger. We are approaching extremely hazardous fire conditions. And when you've got several million people in one place, a couple of them are thinking, oh, well, how can we not take advantage of that opportunity? I don't know what, I don't know. I know that that when I watched the city that I grew up in, well, I didn't grow up in, but the city I've lived in for nearly 40 years, when I watch it burning to the ground, I'm filled with pride knowing that, even though the city is burning down, we have ourselves a lesbian woman fire chief. That just makes everything okay. As long as we're leading the world in diversity, equity, and inclusion, then who really? It's a minor thing about people's houses or lives, going up in flames. I'm sure that all that stuff can be rebuilt, and they're just regular people anyway. No celebrities have been killed, as far as I know. That's the main thing. You've probably seen the video of the mayor who got cornered coming back from Ghana, asked if she wanted to apologize, if she has anything she wants to say to the citizens of LA. Stone face, just staring straight ahead for 2.5 minutes. Gavin Newsom came down to make an appearance, and when they asked him why there's no water in the fire hydrants to put out the fires, well, that's a local problem. It's not a California problem. I'm not responsible for what happens in Southern California. You're the one who, you and your party are the ones who basically turned off the Colorado River to protect the Delta smelt, which is a sardine, basically, because we've got to preserve the Delta smelt. I wonder how many animals were killed in order to preserve these fish with the brains the size of a tip of a pen. I'm just furious. Is it? I'm just furious. I think that what I'd really like to see is I'd like to see Ron DeSantis make a permanent move to California and run for governor to take Gavin Newsom's place when he's out of office in 2 years. Because I don't want to hear that there's nothing you can do about this, and it's just nature and so on. So Newsom said, well, we have our fire department, we're able to take care of a one-house fire, maybe a couple of houses or so on, but this business is about an entire section of Los Angeles burning. We're not prepared to that. There's no way to be prepared for that. It's like this happens every 3 years. Why don't you be prepared for it? The mayor cut anywhere from 17 to 30, depending on who you talk to, $1 million from the budget to spend on DEI, so we could hire more women firefighters, because we only have 115 of them out of 3,000 firefighters in LA County. I wonder how many good firefighters just got sick and tired of waiting. Adam Carolla testified in front of Congress in 2019 or 17, I forget which, and basically said he applied to be a firefighter, and he had to wait 7 years for his interview. And while he was taking the exam, he turned to a black woman who was behind him and said, when did you apply? She said, Wednesday. So how many great firefighters have been turned away? I looked at our fire chief, and I frankly do not believe that she's ever kicked down a door or smashed a door down with an axe and carried somebody out of a building. I don't get that impression from her. I did see how excited she got when she talked about the fact that we're just going to have more and more women and firefighters of color. And I'm thinking, there's only one color I see out there at nighttime, and that's orange. And it's orange every night here. On the first night, Natasha and I drove over there. We were very careful not to get in anybody's way, but to be honest with you, I mean, Natasha's watching the show now, but it was important to show her how far away these fires were. But as we turned around at the 405 and Sunset Boulevard, we couldn't see any flames, but the entire western sky was just red. I mean, just blood red from the smoke and the reflection of Pacific Palisades disappearing from the face of the earth. There's a picture of Pacific Palisades that looks like Hiroshima. It's just gone. A number of restaurants have gone. The fires are still going on out there. Our favorite place, one of our two favorite places is a place called Mastro's, Malibu, where we go for special occasions. And last I heard, it was still standing, but the fire continues to spread to the west. So, there you go. We don't know if that's going to survive or not. Topanga Canyon, there's a Topanga art community in there that's got to be completely just gone. I haven't seen any pictures from inside Topanga Canyon. It's probably not safe to go into Topanga Canyon yet. But when Donald Trump was on the Joe Rogan Experience, of all the things he said, the thing that blew me the most was he just sat down with Joe Rogan. And remember, Joe Biden can't sit down and tell you what day it is, but Donald Trump sat down with Rogan and basically explained in significant detail all of California's problems with water and wildfire. Basically says all of your water is being diverted out into the Pacific Ocean to protect this delta smelt. I think sympathy for the delta smelt has declined significantly in the last several days here in Los Angeles. And furthermore, he said, you've got to go out there and just clean out that brush. He's right. It's like, we've got the money, and it's not even a question of the money. Why don't we have some of those people that are being arrested under these new laws go out there and clear brush and do them some good? There is talk around the fringes of this catastrophe that this may be enough to actually shake Californians out of their stupidity. I'm not convinced of this at all. I keep expecting to see people. I thought the reaction to the COVID lockdowns would be more than enough to shock Californians out of this mental illness that so many of them possess. But no, nope. So maybe having your house burned down will be enough to get some people to vote differently. The entire state moved significantly to the right in the 2024 national election. A number of counties flipped from blue to red. The entire interior of California is red, and the entire strip of the coast, county-wise, is blue. Labco 92 says, found out your Mayor Bass was a member of the Venceremos Brigade, a literal Cuban terrorist organization. What the hell is up with politics? Well, we love communists out here. You want to know why? I can tell you why. The reason people love communism and socialism and DEI and woke so much out here is because they're very well off. And their entire politics is the politics of envy and oppression. And they wake up every day and look in the mirror and they realize, oh my God, I'm an oppressor and I've got money. And so now I have to do everything within my power to convince the not only the proles, but my fellow liberals that I'm one of the good ones. That even though I'm richer than Midas, I care about the poor. I don't do anything for the poor. That would require me giving up, actual money and stuff. But I care about them, and I go to fundraisers and I raise awareness, and I put on ribbons and stuff. And I got a sticker on my car, and they also are determined to show everybody that even though they have these multi-million-dollar mansions, they're very, very concerned about climate change. Their electric bill and their power bill is 4 times what yours is, but they're deeply aware of it, and they used to drive. Come on, his name's right in front of my Teslas. They used to drive Teslas until Tesla CEO was revealed to be a MAGA Republican, because saving the planet's important, but it's not as important as showing people you can't stand Orange Man. So a lot of people returning their Teslas because their politics comes ahead of the planet according to their philosophy. So it just around and around it goes. I'll tell you who's going to get hurt from this aftermath is DEI, because we have DEI mayor and we have a DEI fire chief, and we have a DEI government, and we have nothing but incompetence promoted here because it's based on how you look. I listened to Steve Turley's show, and he had a term I'd never heard before called bio-Leninism, and bio-Leninism is the result of Leninism in the Soviet Union, which is something I know a little bit about nowadays. Leninism promoted people not on the basis of their, I'm talking about governance now, promoted people into positions of governance not based on their qualifications or their competence, but based on their party loyalty. And bio-Leninism is promoting people based on their biological victimhood characteristics. So if you have a experienced firefighting man up for the job and you have an inexperienced woman, you promote the woman because the woman has a higher victimhood rating. If she's a lesbian, then you make her chief of fire department, because that's a double box checked. If I was the white female lesbian fire chief of Los Angeles, I would be looking like Herod through the ranks of the fire department and doing my very best to have accidents befall any black lesbian women fire department people, because they're the only ones capable of taking my job. I'd be like Herod scouring the land of Judea, like kill all the babies between these ages, because somewhere out there is someone who's going to be the next the king of the Jews. So yeah, she's got to be looking real hard at either black lesbian women or disabled white lesbian women. Disabled black lesbian women, I think, are heading for a fall down the stairs. Bike with Love calls it intersectional psychosis. This is something that Californians can get their little minds wrapped around. The loss of their own homes. This is something that may actually get through to the people in predominantly very, very liberal Pacific Palisades. This may actually penetrate. Who knows? But I wouldn't be surprised if it didn't. We got a super check from R. Valera that says, "Can California recall the governor?" We tried to do that, and it went over badly. Newsom was resoundingly not recalled from office, largely because the press put a blackout on Larry Elder, and they tried to keep his name off the ballot, and so Larry, who would have been a fine governor and is more than capable of handling Newsom in a one-on-one debate, just disappeared. He became a non-person. As far as the mayor goes, I think the mayor is in some trouble. We did recall Gascon, the George Soros Medal of Freedom winning George Soros district attorney. He was recalled, and Californians did pass was it Prop 36 that made stealing a felony again. Now if you steal $1,000 worth of stuff, you get a felony instead of just that's get back out there now. Don't make us tell you a 50th time. So, there's signs that California is well, there's no question California is becoming more conservative. The question is it going to be enough? I'll tell you one thing, just as entered my head. If you were able to flip California, and I'm not saying you can, mind you, but if you were able to, if enough incompetence kills enough people and burns enough houses to the ground, in other words, what we really need next, what I expect we'll see next, is a major air traffic control accident, a major loss of life plane accident caused directly by DEI, because we've gone 22 years without a plane accident. We've gone a lot more than that, 23 years without a fatality on a major U.S. carrier. And the number of near misses happening increase every day. The number of air traffic control errors increase every day. Airlines say we're not hiring any white pilots. You go to a flight school and see who's learning how to fly, you're looking at probably 97% of the people that walk in that door are white males. And there's nobody keeping out black males or white females. Nobody standing there guarding that door. Those are the people who are interested in flying, have a passion for flying. And that doesn't mean there aren't good women pilots or black pilots, needless to say. But if you decide that you're going to cut your recruits to cut 50% of the people that come out the door in order to get people in who don't really want to be there, because if they did want to be there, they'd be there, then you're going to start getting substandard pilots. And that's what we've got. We've got substandard controllers too. I've seen some controller errors, real life controller errors. Listen to the tapes, when they pull the tapes after a incident. And in some cases, I'm like gobsmacked. Like, you just cleared a guy. You've got a guy on 2 mile final, and visibility is a quarter mile, and you just cleared a guy for takeoff without saying no delay, it's not like there's 15 airplanes you got to get out of there. It's just this little deserted, small little airport, probably a Class Delta or Class Charlie airport. And then, clear to take off. And then by some miracle, the FedEx plane saw him at the last minute, flew over him, called the guy on the ground. I want to say it was a Southwest flight who was on the roll, who had been cleared onto the runway by air traffic control and delayed. He was sitting there getting his dials adjusted, sitting on the active. He should have been ready to go when he got cleared onto the runway. But the controller didn't tell him no delay. Just said clear for takeoff. So the guy sat there for a while, and that was very, 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 very near thing. That guy flying the FedEx airplane was really on the ball. And the controller kind of said, well, sorry about that. Well, that was one. And then, again and again and again. Road Rider says, my white daughter was passed over for 2 jobs because she's not an indigenous person of color. Okay, well, it's going to take more of this for people to, this is the wrecking ball of reality. It's going to take more of this. 1968 Camaro SS says, ask Boeing about DEI hiring. They bought the cheapest engineers they could find, and now they have nothing but problems. Yeah, that's what happens when you try to cut corners from things like brain surgery or rocket science or building safe and reliable commercial jetliners. SpaceX doesn't appear to have any DEI hiring. SpaceX apparently is under the antiquated notion that you just hire the best people you can. And so DEI is ultimately just another form of liberal racism. It's a way of mandating we must have this many black people instead of this many good people. If you believe that blacks are as capable of being good pilots as whites, which I do, then you wouldn't have to mandate a certain number of black positions. You would simply just say, give us the best pilots you got, and you would get what you got. So, it's just, I don't know what to say. Certainly nothing I can say that James Woods didn't say an awful lot better on Laura Ingraham. By the way, the President of the United States weighed in on this, read something from a teleprompter, and concluded his talk about the catastrophe in Los Angeles, listing all of these disasters and all the people who were misplaced and died and lost everything, and concluded his press briefing by saying, "But it's not all bad news because I'm now a grandfather of a 12-ounce, 8-ounce, 8-pound, 6-ounce baby boy, or a great grandfather." Yeah. So good news for all of us living in Los Angeles. Something to something bright on the horizon. We may not have our houses anymore, but the president concluded his press conference by telling us that it's not all bad news. He's a great granddad. So, 50-50 kind of a day. Yeah, it's all about Joe, says Road Rider. It's always all about Joe. Well, if we were less than 2 weeks away from Kamala Harris's inauguration, we'd be like, strap in, folks. We're going to get a lot more of this. But then I don't know. I get the feeling that we're getting a wave of competence, and all we need to do is surround California with a giant wall of states that actually work. Ron DeSantis could make California work in a year. In a year, he'd get this done. Eric Blake says, meanwhile, the real president is calling out, "I told you so." He did, and he's on camera. He's on camera in 2019, talking to Newsom, saying, "You need to clear all this. You need to clear all these bushes off these hills. These are just going to go up in flames. You need to clear these bushes, and you need to get the water flowing down here." And Newsom is looking. Whoa. Okay, all right. Yeah, James Woods said this is not a time. This is not a wake-up call. He said this is time for a tribunal. Time for a tribunal into malfeasance and violation of oath of office. But yeah, the mayor was out of town in Ghana, which I'm sure was of vital interest to the city of Los Angeles. And Newsom is throwing the city of Los Angeles under the bus. Not my problem. It's a local problem. He said verbatim. He was asked by Anderson Cooper and Newsom were standing in front of burning Pacific Palisades buildings, and then Anderson Cooper says, "I hate to ask you this." It's such a tell. Sometimes some people don't pick up on the real story there. But Newsom, but Anderson Cooper said, "Boy, I hate to ask you this, but President Trump is accusing you of, being, responsible for this. I wouldn't have asked you otherwise if he hadn't brought it up. I wouldn't have asked if you're responsible for this. Okay, all right. I don't know. Now, as far as we're concerned, so you need to understand the geography of LA. Not even, it's probably better to say the geology of LA. These fires that occur every year, we have fires every year. Sometimes, some years they're worse than others. Just real quick, Kaladin Stockley says, "Why didn't they run him instead of Kamala? He would have done much better than Kamala. But you can't pull a black woman off of the ticket. It's her turn." The Democrats were painted into a corner by their own identity politics. There's no way that they could have pulled a black woman out of line and replaced her with a white male. I thought they maybe would look at Newsom as vice president, but I wasn't smart enough to know that was unconstitutional. You can't have the president and vice president come from the same state. I didn't know that prior to the secession coup that occurred with the Democratic Party back in 2024. But here's the main thing about is Reseda safe? Yes. Most of Reseda is safe. It's very simple. The Los Angeles basin is flat. Hollywood is built on a slope that goes up to the Hollywood Hills. The Hollywood Hills have houses. That's where the movie stars live, in the Hollywood Hills. They have it's stunning view. And you go up there at nighttime, it's spectacular to live up there. This is why people build houses up there, because it's incredible. But all of those houses up in the Hollywood Hills are surrounded by brush. They're not level. They're not lawns. They're not watered lawns. They're brush. They grow like weeds because they are weeds. For a couple weeks when it rains, we got a lot of water last spring. It was a real wet spring, so there was a lot of undergrowth, which then dries out during the summer because it doesn't rain between, I don't know, March or April until January. It doesn't rain at all, ever. Not one day at all. And so what happens is all of this brush grows up, and when any of it catches fire, it is like tinder. It's perfect. A tumbleweed, it's almost impossible to design a plant that's a better fire, a better incendiary device than a tumbleweed. It's bone dry. It's got lots and lots and lots of surface area, and they burn really hot, and they touch each other. So once those things start burning, they put up embers. The embers go land among other tumbleweeds, and the higher the wind is, the more the further the embers can spread, and the faster as well. So the areas that burn are always areas on hills. There was a small fire in the top of the 405 up near where it heads up towards Santa Clarita. There's a fire on the hills there. There was the Hollywood Hills fire was in the Hollywood Hills. Pacific Palisades is all built on a slope. All of Malibu, all of that is a mountainside. It's just all of that. So the short form is, if you live in a flat area of Los Angeles, you've got nothing to worry about. We live in the San Fernando Valley. We're relatively close to as far as the width of the valley is concerned, we're relatively close to the Hollywood Hills, but we got 2 miles from them. And the only fire that burned in the valley was a house that I am convinced was set ablaze on purpose, because that house didn't catch fire as a result of a wildfire. That house caught fire, burned the house next to it, and then those two burning houses spread to some of the area around it, but they got it contained really fast. That was about a little over a mile from our house. But I wasn't worried about that at the slightest. It was up at the top of the hill, and I know which way fire goes. Fire doesn't burn downhill. You can blow a fire downhill, which is what happens along Pacific Coast Highway. That wind comes from the north, goes over the Santa Monica Hills, and then blows the fire down because of the wind speed. But fires don't go downhill. I have heard anecdotally, and not only anecdotally, but professionally, this certainly makes a lot of sense. If you should ever find yourself out hiking or something, and you find yourself surrounded by fire, do not go uphill under any circumstances. Under any circumstances. Fire burns uphill. Fire can't go downhill because the hot part goes up, you see? So you find yourself out in the wilderness, and you see there's fire around you. Go downhill as fast as you can. Go as low as you can, and you're going to be as safe as you possibly could be. So our neighborhood is a neighborhood with well-watered yards and trees, and there's no real fuel there. I'm not saying if you dropped an incendiary device on that, but embers aren't gonna catch fire where we live, and besides, the embers are being blown from the north to the south by these Santa Ana winds. So I haven't been the slightest bit worried. Can wind drive it downhill? Yes. I just mentioned, John, that the reason that Malibu burns to the sea is because the fires that start at the top or the side of the hill burn up, but then the winds coming from the north go over the hills down to the south, and they blow the fire down towards the ocean. But there's no question that at least some of these fires are arson, because all of a sudden some new fire breaks out 8 miles, 20 miles away from the nearest active fire. So that's not embers doing that. That's people doing that. And it you know, I just don't I just don't know what to say. Um, it's it's just plain. P7 says it's not just the embers. A big fire can generate hurricane strength winds. Yes, but the big fires generate hurricane strength winds which go upwards. The heat is pulled in from the bottom. The heat, a firestorm pulls heat from the pulls air in from the bottom, heats it, and sends it up. So there's a hurricane effect that heads towards the fire, but the fire is up in the hills. So the fire has only to go up. If you've got a strong wind from the north, it'll blow the fire down the hill to the south. But the center of the but living on the valley floor like we do, it just doesn't happen here. I've been here for 37 years or something, and I've never ever seen wildfire burn the valley floor or the floor of the LA basin. It just doesn't happen. It can't happen. So, yes, thank you, Road Rider. Natasha and I and Bean and Shelly are safe, and Spike and Katya, our other two cats, are safe, and we've got green lawns behind us, surrounding us. We've got all this stuff. It's just and paved streets. You really have to see. You really do have to drive through California just prior to, I mean, after the brush has dried for a year. You really do have to drive along one of the freeways and just look at this brush and just realize what perfect fuel it is. What absolutely perfect fuel it is. And it needs to be cleared. You can either clear it mechanically. We have 3 cats. We have Spike, Katya, and Bean. We got Spike after we lost Pismo, because I was hurting real bad for a Maine Coon, and Spike is coming out of being a teenager, and we've had him 4 years now, I think, and he's starting to become a cat now. Katya is a Persian that I got for Natasha 7 years ago, almost 8, and she's a little princess, and she's the cutest cat ever lived. But Sycopolin says if you're on a California highway, you can't see the brush for the litter. There's a lot of truth for that too. So we've got all of this money. We're the richest state in the union. We're probably the poorest if you use traditional accounting in terms of our deficits. But California is the 5th or 6th, depending on how you measure it or when you measure it, 5th or 6th largest economy in the world, the state of California. If it was an independent country, it would be the United States, China. Losing California may cost the United... No, it wouldn't be enough to go second place to China. But it's the United States, China, Japan, Germany, and California. Then would come Britain, France, and all the rest of them. So it's not like we don't have the money. It's just that we have got the most corrupt, inept, insane people in government because the people that vote them into office are very rich and imprisoned by their politics of envy. So they've got to show the little people that there's no reason to go out there with pitchforks and torches and take away all their stuff. So they pour all this money into all of this social welfare stuff, and you get all this stuff, right? Roadrunner says, but you also have high-speed rail, right? Well, they're building it. I think they've constructed a mile or two now. They've spent several $1 billion, and I think it's probably going to cost about $8 or $9 billion per mile. So yeah, we've got a high-speed rail that goes nowhere. You know what's an even more interesting way to travel than high speed rail? Because a high speed rail will do 150 miles an hour, 200 miles an hour. Jet airplane will do 500 miles an hour. And we got a lot of jet airplanes that travel up and down the coast every day. That's why we don't need high speed rail. That's why there's no economic reason to have high speed rail. If high speed rail would make money, we'd have high speed rail. But it doesn't. Does anybody actually want high speed rail? No. Californians don't want high speed rail. Most Californians don't even think about high speed rail. But the liberals like the sound of it. See, the liberals are bothered by the fact that Europe has stuff that we don't have. And so they see like the bullet trains in Japan. I know Japan is not in Europe. They see them in France. And they think, oh, how come we don't have high speed rail? Well, because we've got 13,000 airports and Germany has 3,000 or less. Fewer. It's just one giant perfect storm of incompetence, vanity, narcissism, and arrogance and stupidity. How long does it take to get on an airplane and go versus high-speed rail? Well, either way, you still have to drive to the station. I'll admit you can probably get on a train faster than you can get on a plane, but then the plane is going to go 2.5 times faster than the train does, so it depends on how far you're going. The only realistic reason, since high-speed rail came up, I think you could probably make money if you had high-speed rail between Los Angeles and Las Vegas. And that's the only route that makes any economic sense whatsoever. Las Vegas is powered by Los Angeles. Some significant portion of Los Angeles empties out on Friday evening, and they form a long ass line of traffic from Los Angeles to Las Vegas on Friday afternoon, evening, and they come back late Sunday night or early Sunday morning in time to get to work after being up all night gambling or whatever. But that you could probably make a case for. Look, Natasha and I took Amtrak a couple times. I loved it. I just loved Amtrak. I loved we had a semi-private room, it's our room. It didn't belong to other people, but it wasn't a full walk-around stateroom. It was just a couple of compartments. But, you could shack out full length and just fall asleep, and we just loved it. It was late, but I couldn't believe how much I loved it. I loved traveling by train. I thought it was great. I loved being able to get up and walk down the aisles and get a real walk. You're not stuck in those seats, and the dining car, and and the snacks, and then the viewing car, and just rail system's actually really good. You'll get your fillings knocked out of your mouth. The rails are in really good shape. Caledon Society says San Diego to LA by rail isn't bad. It's not. It's beautiful. I mean, it's right down Pacific Coast. It's some of the most scenic rail in the world, not just in the country, in the world. It's just stunning. I would, if I had the, I would love to take a train. But it's not making money. So, while you not only get these incredible views when you're along the coast, you also get views going into places like, I don't know, Stockton or something like that, where you will see 4 miles of homeless people. 4 miles, all along both sides of the tracks. Nothing but nothing but tents, cardboard, lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots and lots of garbage, and people just relieving themselves on the tracks or next to the tracks or up against the fence. This is a third world country, California, and it's been done to California by Democrats. And when you ask Democrats about it, Salinas, yeah, it wasn't Stockton. You're right, Road Rider. It was Salinas, and graffiti, of course. No, it's you ask Democrats how they support this. They say it's all Donald Trump's fault. You can't shake them. They're like schizophrenics. They hear voices in their heads, and you can't shake them. I mean, if Republicans performed as badly as Democrats did, it wouldn't turn me into a Democrat, but it would sure as hell stop me from being a Republican. I'd start looking at third party. Um, and yeah, a bunch of people saying it's climate change. It's like, okay, all right, you tell yourself whatever you want. Um, but the beatings will continue until morale improves. And I'm just sitting here for 3 days, and I'm just plain angry. I'm just really, 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 really angry at the whole thing. Um, and and I'm not the only one. So we'll see. Um, we'll see. The state is shifting to the right. This will shift the state further to the right. Uh, Whether people remember it or not, I don't know. The main problem we have in California is not a deficiency of water; it's a deficiency of of Republican candidates who can talk their way out of a paper bag. All it would take is one Republican who knows anything about anything, and it should be a pretty much solid win. But the Republican candidates they put up for governor are really kind of unbelievable. Zachary Lahaki wants to know: do you think Trump can change any of this? I think Trump can. I think Trump can call attention to it like he's done already. He basically said Newsom is responsible. He's incompetent. Needs to resign. Good. Um, so there you go. Oh, sorry to see that. Sorry to hear that, Steve. Um, anyway. Um, Newsom just I despise him on sight. I used to only feel this way about Hillary Clinton. She was the only person that actually made me just see red. But Newsom's gotten there, and so has Joe Biden. Harris, not quite. I don't. I don't. The landscape doesn't turn red for me when I look at Kamala Harris. I'm happy to see her go down. Pleases me that she got completely lit and couldn't come out and talk to her supporters, just like the other woman that uh, Trump beat to a pulp. But yeah, um, so yeah. So a couple people mentioned some. Ace Fendi says, "Bill, you got Newsom hair today." Yes, I got it. I've been for the last several haircuts. In fact, for a year, I've been trying to say, "Can we take this a little shorter, please?" And she would just didn't want to do it. And I just finally this time I said, "We gotta cut it here. It can't. I got to get this out of my eyes." So this is my streamlined look. This is my get out of LA in a hurry look. And I don't want if I have to evacuate the city, I don't want to be slowed down by the aerodynamic drag of all of that hair hanging down in front of my face. I got to be ready for action. I really like this haircut. I think it looks great. But yeah. So why don't we have a look at the comments and see what they have to say? We were out of power here at the studio for about 30 days. 30 hours. So so I got some shows I got a little behind on. I got to get posted. High speed, low drag, exactly. We'll see. We'll see. All right. P7 says, don't know what we would have done if we, the people, were dumb enough to go for Harris. Well, we would have found a way through it somehow. They can't kill this idea. They just can't. They think they can't, but they can't. But in any event, I'm glad we got it right. Okay, here we go. Let me bring up a browser window. A window for my browser. I did not see GK Masterson in chat tonight. Good to see you, GK. Good to have you back. We missed you very much. Too busy fuming. The smoke coming out of my ears blinded my eyes. Here we go. Sorry. Try that again. John Eden with a $99 super chat once again. John, you're the GOAT. You're just the GOAT, greatest of all time. I never. It always impresses me, and it always surprises me. I just want you to know that I never ever expect it. It always just astonishes me, and I am exceedingly grateful for your generosity again and again and again. That's a great point, Marusha. How much do you think that burnt forest will contribute to California's carbon footprint? You know what? That's the way to fight this thing. That's the way to fight this thing. Is to use California insanity against Californians. In order to prevent global warming and all the carbon dioxide that was released in the fires, the only way to prevent global warming is to restore the water to the Central Valley. Robert Johnson says no Republicans left to vote in California. They all moved out. There's a lot of truth to that. Anyway, let's have a look at what we got here. We got Roadrunner. We got Capital G Geek. We got Broke College Student. Oh, that's a big one. We got Marusha. We got Marusha again. We got John Rochino. Guy Balo. Bob Knife. Eric Blake. All right. We're not doing doubles, but we should be able to get through all of these, I think. I hope. I just think as a general policy, we shouldn't be doing doubles. It's always, tough to get through them all most of the time anyway, so we'll see what we get. Okay, start with Roadrunner. Greetings, friend William. Hello, Roadrunner. During a press conference on Tuesday, President Trump announced that he will be changing the name of the Gulf of Mexico to the Gulf of America. Do you think he's serious, or do you think he's just trolling progressives? I'm pretty sure it'll take more than a presidential executive order to actually change the name of an international body of water, but I can't say for sure that he won't do it if he's serious. I think this is a really stupid idea, Thank you, Writer Sprite. I saw your what we saw series on Daily Wire. Are you going to do another season? Yes, we just don't know what it's going to be yet. Just wanted to get to that before it goes by. Yeah, I think these kind of things are unforced errors, and I just don't see any sense in them. It's been the Gulf of Mexico. It's not like it used to be the Gulf of America until 1978. I just think it's really dumb. Now there's a case to be made for calling it the Gulf of America, but it just plays it's to me it feels like January 6th, January 6th was not an insurrection, it was a demonstration. But it gives the left ammunition that we don't need to be giving them, and I don't see what the hell it gains us, It's surrounded by three Americas. It's surrounded by America's North and South. There's plenty of good reasons to call it the Gulf of America, but I just don't. I don't. Look, you have so much political capital in the world. You have a bucket of political capital. Would I mind if it was called the Gulf of America? No, I wouldn't mind. Needless to say, I wouldn't mind. But to me, it sounds like you're wasting capital, and you're beat me to it by half a second. PGTMR2 says distracted by nonsense. Yes, you're distracting people with nonsense. You're wasting capital and focus. You should be focusing on you should stay on message, is what I'm trying to say. So, the Greenland thing, is like, again, I would have canvassed Greenlanders about this before I made this a campaign issue. I really would have, because it would be, look, I'd love to add some more states to the union, and but for that to happen, the Greenlanders have to want to be part of the United States, and they don't show any sign of that, not that I've seen or heard. And so it's it's a lose. It's not going to happen. So why are you doing it? Now, if it turned out that you have insight and he sees something that I don't see, then and that there's a possibility of this actually happening, I think Greenland would be great. But we're not going to invade Greenland. We're not going to steal Greenland. We're not going to take it because we've never done that. We didn't do that with Alaska. Didn't do that with Hawaii. The way you get into the United States is you petition to get in. Now, Puerto Rico's been petitioning to get in, but I don't need Puerto Rico in the United States of America. Puerto Rico has got a culture that's very, very, very different than mainland United States. Now, you could argue that so did Hawaii, but in any event, all right, Marisha says, or hear me out, by having the media focus on Greenland and the Gulf, they're also distracted from other attacks like Trump being ordered to sentencing tomorrow. Yeah, well, maybe. They can sentence him all he wants to. You know what? Sentence him, convict him. You can even arrest him before he's inaugurated. Then the first thing he can do is pardon himself. I don't care. You know, it's accomplished its goal. Half of the, well, 43% of the country says he's a convicted felon. I don't want them pardoned. I want those charges overturned. I want them overturned on appeal. That's the answer, is to get them overturned on appeal, because the whole thing was incredibly shady. And Richard Burton says, please check out Charlie Kirk and Don Jr. Now, Greenland has value. I think the Greenland thing, look, I did a right angle called All I Want for Christmas is Greenland. I think it'd be great. I think it would be great to have Greenland come in as a state, if it's possible, because there's a gain there. But the Gulf of America thing just to me seems like, I don't know. I don't think it's smart. On Greenland, hundreds of people supporting and wearing MAGA hats and cheering the idea of becoming U.S. territory. Well, if that's true, then that's great. If it turns out that they want to become Americans, then that's great. Real News Channel says, oh yes, the Greenlanders do like America. Didn't you see coverage of Donald Trump Jr.'s recent trip to Greenland? There was nobody there, right? Oh yeah, this is going to be Trump's biggest real estate deal yet. I don't know. Caledon Society says, I think Greenland is ours if we want it. I'd prefer to make them an offer they can't refuse, but if they don't want it, well, that's not my country. That's not the country that I live in, or particularly want to live in. You know, the country I live in had bases, enormous bases, really expensive, huge bases in the Philippines, in Clark Air Force Base and Subic Bay Naval Station. And when the Filipinos said, we don't want you here anymore, we said, okay, that's it, we're going. And the Soviets took it over. Thank you, Sad Wings, for the taffy jar tip. You know, this country comes with a built-in moral high ground, and I'm tired of losing it. And Caledon says, I think we need it for strategic purposes. Well, then we're not any better than maybe we need Lebensraum, you know? I mean, we don't do that. We just don't, and it's dangerous to be talking like that. It's not the American way. Now, if we offer to buy it and they want to sell it, then I'm completely down with that. That's free market, great. Make them an offer they can't refuse, economic offer, and they agree to it, great. But taking it by force, no. There's a lot that we could offer the Greenlanders, and then at the same time, I just don't know. I don't know what's going on the ground there. But I'm not. But that's not on the table, by the way. This idea of like an invasion of Greenland, the president who didn't get us any wars is gonna launch an invasion? No. I think both of these things are really. I think they're. I think they're. I think they're both. Unless the purpose is specifically to distract from something else, then I think they're unforced errors. I think that everything ought to be on. Here's how we're going to save America, make America great again on day one, and that's all we should be talking about, and so on. Charlie Kirk and John Jr. both want. I think they want to be more like Guam or something like that. They don't want the Danes anymore. I can see them not wanting the Danes. So maybe they want to be a protectorate or a territory. There'd be advantages to that. They maintain their national sovereignty. Sweet. That could be great. That kind of thing would be great. I don't want to be misunderstood about this. I understand its importance. I understand that the Soviets and the Chinese are very, very, very busy. The Russians and the Chinese are busy up in the Arctic, and that we need that Greenland would be very, very useful. I'd love to have Greenland. I'd love to, but this idea of forcing it, it's not a good look. We need to. We should be focused laser-like. There are now only 11 days until we start cleaning up the FBI. In 11 days we secure the border. In 11 days we start working on getting rid of regulations to help bring inflation down. In 11 days, in 11 days, in 11 days. Otherwise, you're just spinning your wheels at a time when you should be gaining momentum. You should be building speed and political momentum, and then there you go. Don't convince yourself that there will not be a conflict over this landmass. Well, the only way I see a military conflict in Greenland is if China or Russia decides to land there first. You got to be. There was a period, mostly in the '60s, when the term was popular, and my dad being a hotel manager. We saw this firsthand, and that term was the ugly American, the American tourist who went around the world and basically said, "Well, I can do whatever I want to because I'm an American. We rule the world now." That's not a good look. That's not how. That's not how you win. That's really what I'm getting at, because I want to win. I like winning, and I like people liking this country, and so. The way you win is, you win by wanting to be, you win by having people want to be with you, to have them like you. You don't force people's noses into things. That's how you lose. The reason that Japan and Germany are our closest allies in the world is not just because we beat them to beat the snot out of them. It's because we beat the snot out of them, and then we helped them to their feet, and we genuinely meant it. We genuinely helped them. It's one thing to burn down cities in war. That's war, but bombing the hell out of cities and then coming by with candy bars and stockings and food and medicine, that's America. That's not been done before. That's what makes us unique. That's what makes us. Us. It's an invincible strategy. So we need to be able to do that, and so make them an offer they can't refuse. We bought Alaska from the Russians for $10 million or $7 or something like that. Make them an offer. I'm fine with that. I'm completely fine with that. And there are so few Greenlanders, and America's economy is so large, you genuinely could make an offer that turns every single Greenlander into a multimillionaire. Well, let's do the math. How many? Let's find out. Wow. Okay. Oops. SpaceX launch coming up from Vandenberg in half an hour. Visible right out this window. Yeah, 56,865. So that's $56 billion to make them all millionaires. Did I get that right? No, that's $56 billion to make them all thousandaires. I know this is simple math. 56,865 times 1 million equals 5.6 e to the 10. So what's that? 55 trillion? It's a lot of money. Somebody can do it better than I can, because that should be simple math. It's not 50 billion. 50 billion makes them all thousandaires. That's what I thought it was at first. It's just simple. All right, so order of 10, right? 50 billion makes them all thousandaires. 500 billion makes them all 10,000-heirs. 5 trillion makes them all 100,000-heirs. It's 50 trillion. 56 billion gives everyone $1 million. No, 56 billion gives everyone 1,000. Right? A billion is 1,000 million. Right, so if you got 56,000 people and you give them all $1,000, it's 56 billion. $56,000 times 1 million is 56 billion? I don't think it is. I do not come here for math. Let me check the... You need just 56 billion? I'm surprised. $5.6 times e to the 10th is what I get. Well, 56 billion, I guess I got it wrong, is nothing. Frickin' Elon Musk can buy Greenland. Okay, I'm wrong. Okay. I don't know why this is so hard for me. Usually I have no problem with these simple powers of 10 thing, but anyway, there you go. So $56 billion is nothing. Let's make them all millionaires. And at that rate, given inflation prior to Donald Trump taking office, they should be able to afford a Camaro. The Pentagon loses $56 billion a year somewhere. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. If $56 billion is a tenth of the Pentagon budget, which is $560 billion or $600 billion. It's a deal. It's a deal. Anyway, um, I think we ought to make them an offer they can't refuse. Anyway, I can feel my brain fading. Moving on here. Capital G Geek, greetings from the swamps of Northern Virginia. Hope you're safe from the fire and effects of them. Thank you. The fire issues that California seems to be self-inflicted, with both the lack of clearing brushes was the failure to fill reservoirs. At what point does the surrounding stupidity get too dangerous for you to remain? Even volcanologists will find a safe distance to watch an eruption. Well, I think we've covered about everything we need to cover about the California fires, but so far we're sticking around. Now there's a point. Caroline L says 56 billion, so the next payment to Ukraine goes to Greenland instead. Way more bang for the buck. You got that right. It's chump change. Fourth turning question. You said to believe that 24 was the turning point in the culture war, and that may very well be the case. You also said that after the turning point is when it gets really bloody because the enemy gets desperate. Yep. Assuming that's the case, how likely is it that we're going to find out about all of the satanic pedophiles on Epstein's or Diddy's list? I think the chances of finding out about Epstein's list are now approaching 100%. I think they're approaching 100%. I think the reason that that list was buried was because of all of the prominent Democrats on that list. And that's why he was murdered. So I think the chances of us finding out who was on that list is very high. And in fact, I think it's damn near 100%. We have a right to know. And there will be ours there too. Good. Makes it even better. I'm curious to know who the ours will be. I'm not denying it at all. I think that's great. They can all come out into the sunlight and we can find out what the hell's going on. We have to do an investigation on who murdered Jeffrey Epstein. Not because I'm a fan of Jeffrey Epstein. I think he's a loathsome individual, but he was murdered in front of everybody's face. And I don't like the fact that somebody can be murdered in prison in front of my face and be told, oh, well, it was the cameras just went out by accident. I'm not an idiot. R squared said that let's spend another 10 minutes figuring out what R squared equals. Cash is going into the FBI and start flipping tables over. Good. That's what we need. Prosecute the whole bunch. The Clinton Foundation killed him. I think you're right, Eric. I genuinely think that this is the only thing on there that they had because of their politics. They can get away with just about murder, but underage sexual exploitation of minors, I don't think even the Clintons could get off of that one. Or Diddy's list for that matter. Yes, we're going to find out. We won the election. Elections have consequences. And I'm telling you, we are going to have answers for this. And it makes me very, very happy. Very happy. The Brits have something similar to work out with their Rotherham grooming gangs, where something like 500,000 girls were abused, raped, and murdered, which was covered up by multiple layers of government so as not cause a racial incident. That socialist liberal government of the United Kingdom needs to go down, and they're going to go down. If they think they can get away with it, they can't. All they can do is suppress it and make people more and more angry. The more they deny it, and the more they think that they can, weather it, the more angry people get. So I say it's over for the liberal, for the elites everywhere. The elites in Germany, in Italy, Argentina, are in real trouble. Canada, they are really, really, really on their heels, and we need to run them into the river and whip them out of their boots and take no prisoners. Just absolutely run them through. Cannae their asses, basically. Surround them on all sides and then just chew them up and leave nothing but a few stragglers just to go home and tell the tale. Tom Homan, Trump's incoming border czar, claims there are over 300,000 children in the U.S. that were lost track of by Biden's ICE department. I expect that a lot of them were trafficked as well, and I wouldn't be surprised if we have something similar to Rotherham going on here. At least one of the UK girls may have been eaten. Sweet. Murder kebabs. Okay. All right. That's the glory of diversity. I was angry to begin with today. This 14-year-old girl who disappeared, they think there's some evidence that she was turned into kebabs. They are going to get to the bottom of this sooner or later. And when they do, the people that committed that crime need to be flayed alive in public. My God. This leftism is not only a mental disease, it is just evil walking the earth. Okay. Broke college student. Hope you and yours are well, Bill. Thank you. Broke college student. We're doing all right. Um, I'm just, this is a long, long thing here. So basically, it's a critique of the H-1B position that we took, where I said, yes, I understand that this whole thing is being horribly misused and basically being used for things, but we should be actively recruiting the best in the country, in the world, and turn them into Americans. And block quotes of lots and lots of comments in the YouTube section about how wrong we were about that, and that not interested in bringing millions and millions of Hindi and Chinese so they can become American. Well, first of all, uh, the H-1B, if this thing has any meaning whatsoever, millions and millions and millions is out of the description of what it's supposed to be. These are supposed to be top minds, not replacement workforce. And I said from the beginning that I think that this thing is badly abused and is being used as a replacement workforce. And so, yeah. Now, if you're saying that we shouldn't be bringing in anybody, you're welcome to your opinion. But the bottom line is there is legal immigration into this country, and if you're saying we don't have room for anybody else, that's a position I'm going to argue with on account of my immigrant wife being here and being a pretty excellent American. So um, I don't know anybody better than her, and she's contributed an awful lot to America already and continues to do so. So if you're saying, hey, no more people, then I'm going to have to disagree with you on that one. Uh, there are 6 people for every. There are, for the number of legal immigrants that we get in this country, I would deport 5 homeborn Americans who hate this country. The question is not, I don't even really know how to deal with this, honestly. She didn't come on an H-1B visa, but she could have. Um, I don't see any point in arguing this again. I mean, I made my position clear that I think that if you're talking about the best and brightest minds in the planet in leading cutting edge fields of research like biochemistry or artificial intelligence, I'd rather have them working for us than for the Chinese. That's what I'd rather do. You're welcome to disagree about that, and here's plenty of reasons why people disagree about that, and there's nothing in here that makes me change my position on this. I know my stepdaughter cannot get a tourist visa into the United States, which I find a little bit effed up, if you really want to know, considering the fact that she has 2 American citizens for parents. The fact that she can't get a tourist visa just to come and visit us is a sign that the system is pretty screwed up. So one of the block quotes is, I work in IT and the overwhelming majority of these people are not high IQ people. So that's not what the H-1B visa is for, which is what I said in the video and what I'm saying again now. This is a misuse of the visa, and I said I was against the misuse of the visa. So all of these arguments saying you're wrong are straw arguments because they're not anything I disagree with. I was pretty clear about this. So I don't get it. I don't get it. And then I got 2 Marusha Darks. I'm going to pick one of them. One of them is about radical Islam. I don't think and the other one's what? The first one is a rehash of what I just talked about, so I'm not going there. What do you suppose is the appeal of radical Islam? This is Marusha Dark's second question. I'm with you on that. Chat plays paintball. So there you go. The appeal of radical Islam is that radical Islam believes in itself, and it doesn't apologize. That's the appeal of radical Islam. When you've got Christianity in Great Britain, where the Archbishop of Canterbury says we've got to have parts of our churches set aside so that Muslims will feel comfortable there and take down our crosses because the Muslims are offended by the crosses in our own churches. That's what the Archbishop of Canterbury said. It was a woman. So that's another mark forward in progression of the great march of Christianity forward. I wouldn't be slightest bit surprised if she was a lesbian woman, because that's what Christianity has become. So if you've got a religion that denies so much of its own religion in order to appease people, it looks nothing but weak and hypocritical, and not only ripe for the taking, but worthy of the taking. And that's basically what Christianity has become in Europe. It's become just a joke. There's no muscles behind it. Radical Islam is a repellent philosophy, in my opinion. All of its values, I think, are the values of insecurity, totalitarianism, arrogance, stupidity, and envy. And I want no part of it. But the one thing you have to say, since you asked what is the appeal of it, is that they believe in it 100%, and they back their religion, and their religion backs them. And that is what's missing in the West. The West has lost the elites in the West. This is what the Make America Great Again movement is all about fighting. The elites in the West have lost faith in the West, and they lost faith in the West in the 1960s, and have lost faith and continue to destroy the West from within because they have a death wish. They have a suicide wish. They have a guilt complex for things that they didn't do, and they want to die. That's what Western elitists are all about. So they can go ahead and march themselves off the cliff, and they can let me just allow this comment here. They can march off the cliff if they want to, and march off to their own extinction if they want to, but I'm not going with them. And that's what the Make America Great Again movement's about. And it's not just in the United States. It's all around the world. This revolution against the New World Order, against the internationalist movement. It's a rebellion of the regular people against the elites. It's populism, but people on the left try to make populism into a bad word. Oh, well, Hitler was a populist. It's like Hitler was a Hitler was not a populist. Hitler basically said at the end of the war, drown every single German. We didn't deserve to win. That's not populism. That's authoritarianism. He saw his people as a means to his own power. So that argument is just ridiculous. But anyway, back to the question here. As in what gets people to drop everything and join? I'm not talking about someone who's indoctrinated and from birth or threatened to submit through violence. I'm not talking about someone whose village was bombed and been given a helping hand by a cult promising vengeance. That much I can understand. I'm also not talking about people who can convert to a more peaceful form of Islam, people who read messages about grace and brotherhood the same way Christians read about the promise of salvation, even for the poor and persecuted. Let's keep it to questions if we can possibly keep it to questions. I'm talking about relatively well-off people, the Westerners like Shamanama Begum, or even those like Osama bin Laden, who leave their cushy modern lives behind to go join ISIS or Al-Qaeda or blow people up over some sand. What do you suppose those type of people see? And it goes on and on and on. They see belief. They see authenticity. They see something worth dying for. People need meaning, and those people are ready to die for something that has appeal to people. And you don't see that in Christianity in the West. And you don't see that in progressivism. You don't see it in humanism. Nobody's going to go out there and die for scientific humanism. People are only ready to die for ideas that are bigger than they are. And liberty is one of those ideas. And Islam is antithetical to liberty. It is not just incompatible with it, it's antithetical to it, which is why it doesn't belong here and cannot coexist here. You can't be a fundamentalist Islamicist and an American citizen at the same time and believe in America, because it comes down to, among many, many, many different issues, do you have the right to criticize Muhammad, yes or no? And if the answer is you do not have the right to criticize Muhammad because you're a fundamentalist Islamicist, then that is a direct violation of the First Amendment, which you may not like. A lot of people don't like interpretations of Christians, and rightfully so, because many of them are unfair and just lascivious and revolting. That's the price you pay for your First Amendment and freedom of speech and freedom of thought. So people who know better believe in it because they want to believe in something, and they go to Islam because Islam believes in itself. And it's about time we started believing in ourselves. Well, that's what MAGA is all about. MAGA is belief in America. It's about a belief in constitutionalism, a belief in American exceptionalism, a belief in greatness. And I get the whole Gulf of America, and we're going to get Greenland as part of American greatness. But the first one is overturning a geographical description which makes us seem weak and petty, to be honest with you. Gulf of America sounds petty and weak to me. It sounds like something that an adult country doesn't have to do in order to impress itself. It sounds childish to me. Greenland, on the other hand, would be a tremendous acquisition. If we can convince them that it's in their best interest, then it's a business deal. We're good at business deals. We're all about business. We're all about voluntary trade so that both parties come out ahead. So, yeah, David Booty says Orange Land. Sounds badass. That'd be a cool thing to call Greenland. Call it Orange Land. The Gulf of MAGA and so on. Panama Canal, well, I think that ship is probably sailed. I don't think we should have given up the canal, but once you did give up the canal, and it's been given up for damn near 50 years now, taking it back looks petty and childish and bullying. I'm about messaging, and I love America. So I don't like messaging that makes America look bad. And I think that this stuff does make America look bad. We don't need it. We don't need it. We all know where the Gulf of Mexico is. It's underneath America. Yes, thank you, Carter. We shouldn't have given it up, but we did give it up. And if there was a time to get it back, then Reagan was the time to get it back. It looks, Caslin says, it looks like defending the U.S. from China. I honestly don't see how China is likely to wrest control of the Panama Canal away from American interests. So we'll see. China owns both ends of the canal, the Panama Canal. Well, Roadrunner says the treaty says we can take it back. If that's the case, I was unaware of that. Then we may need to exercise that aspect of the treaty. And saying China owns both ends of the canal is through Chinese companies. Okay, but they don't have sovereignty. China does not have sovereignty over that. They may have Chinese companies that manage the entrance and exit to the canal on both sides. But if those Chinese companies decide to exercise their management right to exclude American shipping, that's what we have aircraft carriers for. And they don't. So what do I tell you? You know, Brett Weinstein talked about Chinese influence in Panama. He actually went there. Yes, Chinese have influence in Panama. They have influence in Africa. They have influence anywhere, and everybody hates them. And everybody hates them because they throw their weight around and they flash their passports and act like they're better than everybody else. And why are we going to play that game that way? Why would we give up all of this that we have? I don't understand why we put all of our assets on the table and just throw them away. Will a Nimitz fit through the canal? No, I don't believe it does. There's going to be a SpaceX launch, which I used to go downstairs for, but now it's like yawn, you know. So anyway, John Rocchio. Not an earth-shattering one, just a personal one. Bill, are you and your wife okay? We are. Thank you, John. Those questions mean a lot to me. It's very kind of you. Not sure how close you are to the fire, but before and after pictures are heartrending. They are. Better known as Black Horse Cavalry on YouTube. Thank you very much for your concern. We really appreciate it. It has a cool-ass logo for your avatar as well. Guy Balo. Greetings, Bill. First, I'm praying that you and Natasha are safe from the fires. Thank you very much. Also praying that Shelley lives in a safe neighborhood, too. She does, someplace nice and flat. So we're all fine, and thank you for your concern. We all really appreciate it. Some time ago, I heard someone, can't remember who or where, say that we need two radically opposed parties to have a functioning government. I disagreed at the time, and the more I think about it, the more I disagree. The H-1B visa debate has shown us that there's plenty of varying opinions within the Republican Party, with valid points on both sides. I think the same is true about most issues. As a general rule, most Republicans want what's best for the country, whereas virtually all Democrats want what's best for the party and themselves. Yes, that's right. Yes, I know there are rhinos. I'm of the opinion that if the Democratic Party just went away, that the people would be in a lot better shape. Me too, brother. There are plenty of varying opinions within the Republican Party to have a substantial debate on any given issue and come to the best conclusion for the country. I by no means believe that we will get right every time, but hopefully Republicans will learn how to learn from their mistakes and correct them. Any thoughts? Yes, I was asked this on this week's Right Angle, or might have been last week's. I think it was this week's. Scott was asking, the pendulum swings one way, then it swings the other way. Do you think that the answer is to have the pendulum in the middle? I said, no. The happiness is to have the pendulum swing to the right and stay there. If the pendulum is swinging to the right, you're talking about increasing freedom and decreasing government. And you should leave it there and stay there. I don't believe that the best solution is 50% good and 50% bad. I'm 100% good. Now, you can't achieve 100% good in this world. And one of the reasons why having look, the difference between the Democrats and what used to exist in British Parliament is what used to exist in British Parliament was called the loyal opposition. And I don't consider progressives to be loyal opposition. I think they're out to destroy the country. They need to be removed. There's no benefit from having one group of the people in this country love this country and have another group of people hate the country. What you want is you want two groups of people who both love the country, love it, and have different solutions for how to run it. But there's no question that modern progressives hate this country, openly hate it, and I have no sympathy for those people. I want them exported. I want them gone. I want them to go away, and ideally, I'd like them to go away on their own volition. If you hate it here so much, if it's the most evil country and racist country in the history of the world, you are welcome to leave. Unlike other countries in the world, you're going to find out that many of these socialist paradises that you esteem so highly will probably let you in, but they almost certainly won't let you out, and that's exactly the way it should be. I don't want a 50-50 country. I don't want a mix of Republicans and Democrats. I'd like to have 100 Republicans in the Senate and 435 Republicans in the House. Because I think the worst Republican is most of the time going to be more correct on issues than the best Democrat. That's how polarized the country's gotten. But a diversity of ideas is not only good, but it's essential. So when people say, well, do you believe in diversity? I believe in diversity of opinion, and I believe in the marketplace of ideas. I want people to bring good ideas and bad ideas. Bad ideas in a free, open discussion are dealt with very quickly and very effectively. The problem in America is that the left owns all of the mouthpieces and the influence peddling in terms of public opinion, so you don't get the free exchange of ideas. If there had been an honest discussion about Barack Obama's background and the fact that he spent 500 Sundays or whatever it was listening to Reverend Wright, there never would have been a Barack Obama. It was the control of the image and the information about Barack Obama that allowed him to get elected twice. So we didn't have a reasonable discussion about anything that I'm aware of, except that 2024 proved that the legacy media is now no longer powerful. It has been completely emasculated. It's been defanged. MSNBC is about to be sold. CNN is watched by fewer people than, Mark Dice. All of this influence that Hollywood used to have, Hollywood no longer has. I'd rather have an endorsement from the critical drinker than from any movie star you could name. And the list goes on and on. So this is why I think it's going to be very hard for them to come back. They lost in 2024, and all of their weapons continue to weaken and rust. Their media control is Joe Rogan outweighed $1 billion of ad buys. $1 billion. He was more valuable than $1 billion of campaign ads. I don't think there's any question about it. And so, we need a spectrum of ideas. You need a bell curve of ideas. I just want that whole bell curve to move far to the right. Far to the right. So, there you go. What do we got left here? We got a Bob Knife and Eric Blake. Two Eric Blakes. We'll do one of them. Bob Knife. Hey, Bill, hope and pray you and Natasha are okay. Thank you again for all of you for all the kind words. We're just fine. We live in the flat bottomlands. We are not the hill people. We are the peasants down there on the flat, well-watered part. So we're just fine. That part doesn't burn. The foothills burn like there's no tomorrow. Okay. Have you seen the interview of Sky News Australia with LA Mayor Karen Bass? Yes. Here's 45 seconds of unbelievableness. Complete silence on her part. It's absolutely devastating. The next mayoral contest, if she doesn't resign or is forced out of office or recalled, all you have to do is run that ad again and again and again. She's out of there. She's done. I think there's a guy named Shelley was telling me about him. Sounds a bit like Garcon. I don't think it's no. It's certainly not Garcon. It's there's a conservative who's gaining some traction, and I don't know if it's possible to do a recall on the mayor, but people here are plenty angry and plenty pissed, and like I said at the very beginning of the show, it's possible that the needle has actually moved as a result of this fire, but we won't know. Caruso, thank you. Donde 2K, thank you very much. Rick Caruso was out there explaining how this is not rocket science. He said, you got to get water where we need water. And the water wasn't moved, and that somebody had a job to move that water, and they didn't do it, and those people need to be held responsible for this. So there you go. So we got two Eric Blakes here. One of them is about the fires, which I feel like I've done enough. So here's the second question. The Arnold precedent, now clearly states that the only way to get California voters to go Republican is to run a universally known and still beloved star. Steve Garvey, alas, had far more limited stardom than, say, Babe Ruth or Michael Jordan. So in other words, Bill, the California GOP's only option is a Republican celebrity who hasn't been driven into long-time obscurity, not John Voight, not John Ratzenberger. What do you think? Who hasn't had their stardom stripped of them? Gary Sinise, Clint Eastwood, James Woods had the personal motivation in the story from the fire. Woods would have been amazing, and Woods is widely known as the smartest guy in Hollywood, although I have to break it to James when I see him next. Well, that's absolutely true. It's a low bar to clear. Yes, I've been endlessly hearing that my governor should head for California upon finishing his second term. Look, I appreciate Ron, but he wouldn't have a snowball's chance in Cali by virtue of having the charisma of a barnfly. Yeah, he's not super strong on the charisma front. But we've had enough charisma. Maybe it's time for some competence. Maybe we should be running a campaign, the big billboards everywhere that just in big black letters that say charisma, A, charisma, B, competence, and then below that, pick one. That's what I would do. Charisma, competence, pick one. That's messaging. That's how you get change, you know? You got to do something to get people's attention. Donda 2K says, disagree, we don't need another star, we need more like a Larry Elder, but who gets into the race from the start instead of at 11 o'clock. P7 says, competence in government? Are you new? See, I would turn that into a billboard too. Competence, question mark, in government, question mark. Are you nuts? We're not nuts. Vote, Caruso. No, it's not nuts. Vote Caruso, that kind of thing. So, anyway. All right, so I got to get this show up, and to be perfectly honest with you, I just don't feel like being here any longer. I want to go home, go to sleep, and I'll try and get up early, come in here and post that sucker, because I just want to get out of here. This whole thing has been so enraging and depressing at the same time. It's just the scale of the loss is horrific, and the ease. This is what torques me, right? Is not just the damage that's been done, but that the ease with which it could have been corrected, right? The sheer self-inflicted quality of it is what makes me sick. is that it just so much of this is just self-inflicted garbage done to steal money. And there you go. First show the T-shirt. Yeah, okay. I guess it was probably a coincidence, but this is. Oh my God! Look at me. I look like a snowstorm. For God's sake, I've got this skin condition. The Velvet Arm, Dick Rutan, 1938, 2024, and then on the back, it's not as dirty as it looks on camera. Got a Voyager, an F-100, and his personal canard, I think. Okay. All right. Anyway, I think that's going to do it. Thanks for being with us here tonight. We should have some better news by Monday. I have some thoughts on Monday about some things that we need to be doing. But we'll be having, I think we'll probably have a good chance to get James Woods on the story mechanics early. So that'd be cool. Roger Amjet says I have one of those T-shirts. Yes, they were available at was it, did we do 3 or 4 memorials for Dick? I think we did 3. We did 3. Yeah. And they were at the last 2. So first time chat, hey, from Veta Simplex. Thank you very much. Good night and stay safe. It's very kind of you. It's always good to see new people. Thank you for joining us, Vetus. And, oh, I'm sorry. It's probably Vet US Simplex. So whoever you are, Simplex, thank you very much for chipping in. So we will see you guys on Monday night for the Stratosphere studio. Thanks for joining us. And we're out of here on Twitch, so we'll see you in a couple days. Okay, YouTube. Yep, it's been a black screen the whole time. It's a little eerie, but creepy and weird. All right, thanks for joining us.